Hi there. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Sucheta, and today I'm going to talk to you about writing your first book. Now, many of you know that I have written a series of children's books, which is called Beato Goes To. And I am just finishing my fifth book, which is Beato Goes to Brazil. So that's going to be out this summer. And I've been writing almost a book every year for the last 5 years. And I want to talk to you about your book writing process. So maybe you are somebody who wants to be an author, somebody who has already an idea in the head for years, and you just want to get it out on paper, get it in a book, and share it with the world. Now, let me tell you, I had been thinking about writing a book maybe for the last 10, 12 years. And I've come up with so many ideas that this is what I want to write about. And then I start writing it, and then I feel that, oh, who wants to read this? Or I'm not interested in it anymore. Or sometimes I've even gone as far as writing a few chapters, having a proposal, sharing it with the publisher, and then realizing that perhaps there's not a market for this. Maybe I need to think about a better concept. So, my first tip for writing something, whatever idea you have, is just write. Just put it down on paper, share it with your friends, your family if you want to, but share it with the world because these are your ideas, your thoughts. So, who's to judge? And this is not going to print. So, maybe you can just share it in a newsletter with some of your key friends who you think would be interested in writing it. Or if you feel daring enough, then start a blog. And that's a great way to start small and expand on your idea. So you also get an idea of what people are interested in reading. You get into a habit of writing, and your writing improves as you do it more often. So that would be my first tip is just start writing and start sharing what you write. The second tip would be research the idea. So, say you're wanting to write a travel biography, something based on your own trips around the world. Go and to the library and research what other people have written in that genre. So, in travel biographies, what people have written, what are some of their styles, which books are doing really well, and maybe you can get an idea of why they are doing well and certain that have not been picked up a lot, and get some ideas on how they had laid out the book, how they had organized the chapters, what the flow of it was. But the biggest thing from those that research is also look at who the publisher of those books were, because those are the publishers who are most likely to be interested in your travel journal if they have already published another travel book. So that's a great way to start listing out who your target publishers are and what kind of book you want to write. Maybe as you research, you come up with a new idea. So in my case, I was researching books that teach kids about different countries. And as I went to different libraries and bookstores, I did not find a whole lot of books that talked about countries that were very different. So I found a book here and there about Native American culture or Jewish culture, but I didn't find anything that was teaching kids about, say, Greenland or Japan and had a same character. So it was a traveling cat through the entire series. Now, there's one series I know of which was really popular when I was growing up in India. It was called Tintin. And that was a French writer who had written a series of comic books around travel. And that was pretty much the closest thing I could find. But I wanted to appeal to a younger audience, so 4 to 8 age group, who don't really have a chance to read cartoons, or read blogs on travel or magazines on travel, but to be able to teach them about different cultures and how kids live in different parts of the world. Now, the next thing is you have to think about what makes you an authority to tell the story. Now, if it's a personal story, of course, it happened to you, so it has to be a unique story that has not been written about, or it's very special. But in my case, being a travel writer, there are hundreds of travel writers out there who are writing their own travel journals. And these are the 10 things I learned from traveling to 100 countries, or here are funny stories that happened to me in each of the countries. But what I wanted to share was the story of kids I met in each of those countries while I was traveling to, and share it with other kids around the world. So, this girl I stayed with on a sheep farm in Greenland, I shared her story with kids in Atlanta who a lot of them have not even heard of Greenland. And now they are actually seeing pictures of this girl who I met, and I have photos of us together. So that makes me an authority to share that story because I've traveled to 80 plus countries, I've met these kids, and I have real photographs that I'm using as illustrations in my books. Now, the next thing, you have an idea, you have a good story, you have a unique concept, and you think it's sellable, create a proposal. So, proposal includes the actual idea that you're, say, conveying it to a publisher and trying to convince them why they should take your book. You have information about yourself. Why are you the authority to tell the story? You may want to include your bio to talk about who you are and what your travels are. In my case, it would be travel, but maybe you're writing a book about medicine or politics or a novel or anything. So just talk about a little bit who you are and how you're going to market the book. So the number one thing publishers are looking for is not actually just the idea. It's also, are you going to be able to do your own marketing? Do you have any social media channels already? How many followers do you have on social media? Do you do a lot of speaking events? How comfortable are you in speaking in front of people? Are you going to be able to go to book readings and book signings? Now, how much time do you have? How much do you want to invest in travel to different bookstores? And also include a sample chapter in your proposal. So there are people who actually do proposals for you. They are called agents, but you can easily do it yourself as well and save yourself a couple of $1,000s. There is something called a writer's handbook that you can find in any bookstore, and it talks about how you can make a proposal step by step. Also, it talks about how to write a cover letter to send to a publisher or an agent, and it also has a list of some publishers and agents that you can look through. So it's almost like a directory in there. But the next thing you want to think about is, do you want to go through a traditional publishing house or do you want to self-publish? Now, self-publishing used to have a taboo attached to it until recently. A lot of people would think, oh, you are self-publishing because you could not find a publisher because nobody was interested in your book. And that's not true anymore. A lot of authors are choosing to self-publish because it gives them more creative rights and it keeps more dollars in their pocket. A traditional publisher is going to give you maybe 50 cents at the most on every book sold, but a regular self-publisher can give you as much as 50% of the book sale price. So there's a little more money to be made as an author if that's what you're looking to do professionally. And a lot of traditional publishers are actually demanding the same things in terms of having you do your own marketing. So whether or not you go traditional versus self-publishing, you still are responsible for doing a lot of your marketing and getting your books out there and being present, going out for these tours, book tours, and things like that. So think about what your goals are and how much time you can dedicate to doing marketing, to being out there, and how motivated you are to do it all yourself. Now, I have self published, but I also work with a publisher who is called Mascot Books, and they're based in Virginia. So they do take care of everything for me from doing the editing, the design, the distribution, and some of the marketing as well. But I still continue to do a lot of my own marketing, like reaching out to schools, to libraries, to bookstores, and going and doing these talks and doing my own social media. So that's something you have to balance out your personality versus what you're looking for. Now, once you publish your book, well, if you're doing a children's book like I did, you also have to find an illustrator. A lot of publishers like Mascot Books would give you an illustrator. They have somebody on your team. But I found my own illustrators in Romania, so I'm using them. Perhaps you may want to illustrate your books yourself, and that's fine too. And once you do that, once you compile the books, you are going to send it to the publisher and distribute it. And then you have to continue to market the books. So this is the number one thing that I feel authors don't realize that they have to do. They feel like I just need to write the book, I need to share my story, and everything else will be taken care of. And after that, I just sit back and collect royalties. But I think the writing is the smallest portion of your work. The largest one is actually selling it. So, as an author, you also have to think of yourself as an entrepreneur because your job is not just to write it, it's to tell people what you wrote and why they should go buy it and why they should read these stories and how it's going to change their lives. So that's where a good author, a successful author, is going to differentiate from somebody who just prints a bunch of copies and it's sitting around in the warehouse. Well, if you have any questions about being an author, writing your book, get inspired, post a comment on the comment section below or on the chat section on the right. But when I was little, when I was, I think, 7, 8 years old, I was interested in writing. And I remember going to my teacher and asking, how can I be a good writer? What should I do so I can become a writer one day? And her advice to me was read as much as you can. So read everything that comes your way, especially the genre that you want to write in. And I took that literally. I have read so much. I have a huge library in my house that some of you may have seen pictures of. But I read everything from biographies, nonfiction, fiction, magazines, everything that comes my way. So that would be a great tip if you are going to be a writer someday, whether you are a 5-year-old who's just starting out or a 50-year-old who has always had an idea in your head. Just start reading and writing and motivate yourself to one day get it out and share it with the world. So thank you so much for joining me today. And next week on March 20th, I want to be talking to you about transiting from a corporate job to being an entrepreneur. And as some of you know, I used to work in investment banking and consulting about 10 years ago. But this is what I do full-time now, is travel, eat, write, and share it with you. So I want to inspire you to do the same if you're looking to maybe make that transition, or if you've already done so and want to see how you can balance your new career aspect, then join me next Wednesday, same time, same place on YouTube Live. Thank you once again for joining me today. Bye bye.